It was no coincidence that you arrived here. You have been guided to this time since birth. The difficulties you faced and the challenges you attempted to overcome were not solely your own. These procedures were a manifestation of power through a divine purpose involving you. The forces in front of you are about to fall. The universe's will is coming into play, forcing all opposing energy to retreat. They have turned not just against you, but also against the great power that once backed you. Their doom is near. The power that they fight will sweep them away. Their turmoil began as the light revealed their worst fears. They cannot fathom the power you possess. A sacred effect that moves their shadows. It was never only about personal disagreements or conflicts of interest. Every obstacle you experience reflects a far deeper spiritual issue. Your entire existence vibrates in their minds, as if you are exposing all the secrets they have tried to conceal. You entered an arena that they believed they could control. However, the earth they made appeared to be solid, but it was actually a quickly dissolving illusion. When your actual mission manifested, you became a living mirror of their inner voids, and confronting this fact became too much for their souls. The resistance you met was more than just disagreements or minor issues. The enmity toward you came from a much deeper, invisible source, an evil power attempting to extinguish the pure energy that burned within you. They had no idea who you truly are, but the discomfort they felt in their souls stemmed from the spiritual force of your presence. This encounter was more than just a personal competition. It was part of an unseen and deep-rooted conflict. Your holy light reflected the profound truth that weakened them, taking off all the masks they wore. Now, let's unleash the video's vitality. Write 77 in the comments and send a message to the universe with a $7 donation using the Super Thanks button. When you arrived, the pure energy you carried removed each of their concealed shadows one by one. They attempted to silence you, but the divine power shining upon you defeated every move they took, each stride attempting to dim the light you bore. However, they were unable to extinguish this beacon. Your struggles were more than just an individual battle. They were a force of resistance that reached beyond bounds and touched the sky. When the forces tried to stop you, you recognized that your call went beyond the scope of this planet. They got much weaker. Their inner restlessness sprang from the realization that you had a global purpose. Their jealousy grew as they realized your fate was written for a location beyond human reach. Regardless of what they did, their refusal to embrace God's uplifting power over you drove them deeper into internal struggle. Your path belonged to a far larger scheme. You are on a divine trip, and their eyes cannot grasp how you overcome each obstacle. Every blessing has been handed to you. Every opportunity that presented itself became a prism, reflecting their own faults. Their souls became lost, attempting to measure your accomplishments within their own internal voids. Everything in your life was orchestrated according to a larger design, but they never recognized that when they stood against you, believing they could stymie your rise, their opposition really empowered you on this road you're taking. Every difficulty presented you with an opportunity to take a new stride, contrary to their expectations. While they attempted to draw you back, each challenge moved you closer to God's purpose. Every opposition they presented to you elevated you to a higher level, a power beyond their comprehension. What they viewed as impediments became stepping stones for you, and the unknown reality drew their hearts deeper into darkness as the chosen one. The grace that shone on you inflamed their jealousy, preventing them from realizing that it was impossible to stop a plan launched by God via human efforts in their own powerlessness. Some people covertly made arrangements. They muttered in dark corners, misrepresented the truth, and attempted to degrade you. They believed that if they could ruin your reputation, they could diminish your position. But they utterly misread who you were. Their dark machinations vanished like mist with the first light of day, for they were fighting not only you, but also the sacred power that supported you. Their desires were paltry in light of your supernatural strength. Instead of harming you, their schemes made you stronger with each step. In the brightness of your presence, the shadows of their bad intentions vanished. The truth is that they were fighting against more than simply one individual. Every action they took was in opposition to a divine plan. They were further crushed by the power. They resisted. There was no point in looking back and resisting because every move you took was being monitored. They muttered nasty words about you. Every step they attempted to take had already been witnessed and recorded. Every trap they laid, every devious plan to destroy your character was doomed to fail from the start. Not because of your own might, but because of the enormous power that stands behind you. It was evident who had organized your ascension, and they would soon realize that the game's trajectory had shifted dramatically. Those who waged war on you would have to submit to the overwhelming force they were up against. Every trap they devised worked against them. Every method they devised to counter you failed one by one as they attempted to undermine you. Your destiny, sculpted by God's hands, has grown stronger. What they would see now was the true might of those battling against you. They could not reject this heavenly order. They'd all retreat helplessly, forced to face the truth. They can no longer deny the fact that heavenly grace surrounds you. God's decision for you is irreversible. Nothing can halt this decision. Those who oppose you will not simply disappear or back down. No, they will eventually have to bow down. Their jealousy once resulted in their own demise. But now God has transformed that same force into a tool to further raise you. They may have interpreted the jealous looks and nasty comments directed at you as burdens or attacks, but God is using this situation to help you grow. Every jealous glance and harsh comment struck you like a hammer, sculpting you in flames and changing you into a power they could never imagine. Their destructive attempts were a heavenly test designed to purify and strengthen you. Looking back, every action they made was a building block. God utilized to elevate you to a level that others could never achieve. Every censure and doubt weakened them while strengthening you, propelling you to a level they could never reach. What they didn't see was that their jealousy was simply a mirror of their own flaws and the spiritual abundance bestowed upon you. The grief they felt from attempting to damage or bring you down hastened their own end. They had no idea what they were really up against. The source of your strength was God's support for you. That jealousy became a tool for your exaltation, just as stones cannot stop a spring from bursting from the earth's depths. Their resistance merely strengthened your advance. Every obstacle, every push backward did not derail you, but rather added to your momentum, propelling you to greater accomplishment. Their envy became a part of your heavenly path, and every opposition was molded into an opportunity for you, changing every attempt to stop you into steps that accelerated your fated development. Their attempts to fight you were like hands faltering while rowing against a massive current that proved unsuccessful. Just like the wind's fire enhances flames, their opposition to you amplifies your searing strength. Every step they made strengthened you, and they were unknowingly preparing for their own demise while weaving their intrigues in dark corners. God was making plans in the highest reaches of the sky. Those who attempted to bring you down would now be forced to bend in despair, not just to submit to you, but also to recognize the magnitude of the sacred power standing behind you. This is more than just your victory, it is a reality in which holy words have their place. You are the chosen one, and what you perceive is more than simply material success. It marks the beginning of a rebirth within the domain of spirits. God is reestablishing the balances, demonstrating to the world that you are not simply part of a power struggle in your life, but that you have always been chosen to govern on this path. This heavenly equilibrium assures that you are not merely a winner, but the proper one. Those who attempted to stop you discovered that every step they took had already been observed and recorded by God's hand. God saw each of them, and divine justice is now at their door. Declaring war against a certain individual would have serious consequences. They would quickly comprehend what it meant. Standing against them meant continually standing against God, and there was no way out of this battle. Their arrogance and stubbornness were essentially harbingers of their own demise. Every attempt they made to thwart a person elevated by God resulted in an irreversible defeat. Even if they wanted to hide, they had to confront the reality. God's hand had been tracking their every move and recording all of their intents. God's judgment lingered over them like a shadow, unknowing to them, as he waged battle against you. They were waging battle against the universe's supreme power. They could no longer take the weight. Their efforts to oppose God's unchanging will had crippled them. They recognized they were fighting against a sacred order rather than a single person. They had no alternative except to helplessly kneel down and scheme. God was paving a better road. Their wars were more than just a material struggle. It was a magnificent showdown, and God's justice was now right where it should be, inevitable, and fiercely carrying out its decision. Divine order is designed for chosen beings like you, who are not only endowed with a sacred purpose, but also possess steadfast authority within. We are not simply overcoming problems. We are uprooting and removing them, never letting them return. This video was inspired by David's ability to stand up to a narcissist and overcome all barriers. When you discover the secrets of inner order, you will be able to use modern manifestation techniques and walk within a system that will exponentially expand your existing power. God brought you here to redeem what was lost. Every deception they created in the dark is now unraveling and dissipating in front of their eyes. The webs they cleverly spun, the conspiracies they created, are now capturing them in their own traps. They intended to injure, degrade, and disgrace you. However, these strategies failed from the outset. The obstacles they created were not intended to impede your progress, but rather to highlight their failures. And now they're starting to collapse. This is not because of your might, but because they dared to oppose your noble intent. They have nowhere else to hide. The dark places where they concealed their plans have vanished as they attempted to hurt you. They unintentionally confined themselves with each step. They further cornered themselves and are now seeing themselves crushed by the regime they constructed. God's protective hand over you has overturned every scheme they devised, and every hurdle they erected in your path has turned into a stone, paving the way for your victory. Every move they made against you backfired, and now they watch helplessly as you develop. Their order is destined to fail. Every falsehood they told, every intrigue they whispered, has turned against them, creating traps that encircle them. While they created walls, they also made mistakes that solidified your freedom as they walked the path to their own demise. They will see your rising, because God's plan always triumphs over their fraudulent games, and the sacred strength that has always been by your side will close in on them. The traps they devised to drag you down actually built the groundwork for your climb. Every action they took suddenly backfired. They became stuck in the labyrinth they built. And now, all they've built is being gradually destroyed. They are at a loss for what to do after directing their jealousy and fury at you. You became stronger, sharpened by every false allegation, and elevated by every attempt to destroy you. They thought they could confine you, but their efforts just made the heavenly grace that shines upon you more evident. Their failure was unavoidable from the outset, because they were not only against you, but also against the divine plan that governed you. There was no need to defend yourself or speak a word. Simply hold steady, since their downfall is now blatantly visible as their power has slipped from their grasp. Their reputations began to disintegrate beneath the swelling waves, like sand castles demolished by a hardened tide. They will helplessly watch everything based on lies and manipulation crumble one by one. With each stride, they sink deeper while you climb higher. Their twisted intrigues develop into stones, setting the groundwork for you and catching them in their own traps. Their schemes merely accelerated your exaltation, since God's might was always stronger than their deception. They did not need to declare war because they had defeated themselves. And as others go away, you shine brightest, because divine will was always the force that guaranteed victory. What they had painstakingly crafted, the words, the relationships and alliances they formed, are now being shattered by forces they couldn't control as God stripped them of their authority. Their pompous positions quickly deserted, and they found themselves in the thick of their own devastation. This collapse isn't silent. It is loud and unavoidable, like if the ground under them is collapsing. Their former influence and power are fading, leaving only a thin shadow of their presence. Those who attempted to drag you down must now watch you reach a height where you vanish from their sight. Every falsehood they created, every scheme they devised, is now crumbling before their very eyes. The names they previously proudly echoed will now only serve as echoing memories, and the environment around them will no longer respond to their previous effects. What previously gave them power is now only a memory. This isn't your achievement. It is the manifestation of God's power. He's raising you higher, giving them no option. But keep an eye on your rise. All of the preparations they had confidently made are now coming to naught, and they are understanding the newly opened road for you. Every ploy they devise fails in front of their eyes, leaving them as passive bystanders. Every authority that once exalted their names has turned its back on them, leaving only shattered hopes and broken alliances. As God lifts you, their world becomes mute. Your ascension is unavoidable, and they will now watch as you reach a point where they can no longer meddle. Their failure is unavoidable, since it was never founded on truth. It was a building constructed entirely on their pride and malice. Those who wanted to see your demise now have to witness your ascension. The stage was made for them to fall behind, and your rising emerged as the only viable option. God not only silences their words, but also removes all of their influences. Those who want to stop you have inadvertently contributed to their own demise, and they now stand in the wreckage of their own creation. Your achievement is not solely about you. It is a real exhibition of God's might before your foes. This is not just a coincidence. On the contrary, it is part of the grand plan God has for you. Everything they intended to damage you turned into fuel for your growth. This is the way God works. He not only protects you, but also uses their opposition to highlight His majesty. Every trap they laid became one of the stages toward your success. God uses these steps to lift you up. Their failure is not simply a result. It is a chapter in your story characterized by their failures and your triumph, serving as a living heavenly message that nothing can stop God's chosen people. There is no need for you to seek vengeance. This isn't your war. God has always fought on your behalf, and now the outcomes are plain and undeniable. Those who attempted to ruin you, who believed their words and deeds could shake your call, are now lost in the devastation they caused. They've become living examples of how powerful God's protection is. Their failure will serve as a warning to anyone who considers opposing you in the future. They are not simply falling. They are demonstrating how God protects and promotes His people, and that no one can oppose this plan. Your achievement was not simply due to your own efforts. God does not work in shadowy corners. He publicly promotes you, exposing you to the doubting gazes of others. This is not just a victory for you. It clearly declares God's rule over you. Those who attempted to block your way must now witness your progress step by step. Each motion you make, every accomplishment you make will be in front of their eyes. They will realize that every trap they set to hurt you is actually the cornerstone of your victory. The plans aimed at your ruin will be transformed into shining evidence of God's grace, and His grasp over you will grow stronger by the day. This ascension has far-reaching implications beyond personal achievement. God is using you to clearly reveal His might. This is more than simply a chance to quiet your opponents. It is an opportunity to demonstrate that individuals who follow the heavenly way are untouchable. Your elevation will serve as a testimonial in front of everyone, reminding those being attacked that God is with them. As God pulls you up, He will silence the skeptics. Their plans will crumble at the knees of those who dared to revolt. This increase is more than just a prize. It is a path in which God demonstrates His might through you. Those who attempt to block your path will experience not only your triumph, but also God's unparalleled power. Their failures and victories shape your tale. transforming into a living divine message. Now, as you stand in the heart of God's splendor, you are more than just a victor. You are living testimony of His unrivaled strength. Their collapse is more than just a defeat. It is God's warning to those who plan to oppose the chosen ones like you in the future. God's elevation of you is occurring in an entirely open and challenging manner. Skeptics and foes will watch all of their plans backfire, and they will remain silent in the face of the strength that protects you. Every step of your ascent will confirm His ultimate dominance, despite their desperate efforts. This is not just for those who planned against you. It's a powerful warning that's spreading over the world. Those who dare to cross your path are battling against both you and the Almighty. Your opponent's destruction serves as living proof of the power that protects God's chosen extinction. This serves as a lesson to anyone who plans to go against God's will. This is more than just a win, it is the unequivocal establishment of an unbridgeable border. God picked you, and this sign warns those who oppose you not to underestimate the repercussions. Everyone can watch what happens to your adversaries. Their hidden schemes are crumbling, instilling terror in people who might oppose you in the future. Their steps will be remembered with trembling even before they take them, for it is known how quickly those who opposed God's chosen perished. Your life has transformed into a holy statement. Please do not touch my chosen one. Every failure demonstrates that God's protection is unshakable and that His might surrounds you like an impenetrable fortress. However, this isn't about vengeance. It is a bright mirror of God's grandeur. Your opponent's loss not only brings them down, but it also provides an opportunity for God to reveal His genuine authority to the world. No matter how meticulously they plan their intrigues and plans, they will fall short when confronted with the divine power standing behind you. This event demonstrates that no power, authority, or army can stand against God's will. When God picks someone to be by His side, those who resist them disperse like dust in the wind. Their influence fades under God's decree. Your success is more than just a personal accomplishment. It is a clear demonstration of God's power in your victory. God's hand is visible. His name glows through every step of your accomplishment. The defeat of those who battled against you is more than just an occurrence. It demonstrates that a larger power is at work, twisting the truth and altering circumstances to suit God's will. They may have believed they were powerful, but their strength was only an illusion, a fleeting mist dissipating in the sun. God chose them not just as a warning to you, but also to demonstrate to the rest of the world that His will is irresistible. Those who oppose you in the future will not only challenge you, but also engage in a conflict they cannot win. No matter how hard they try, they will fail swiftly because God has already spoken. He is the one true King, and your victory will elevate His glory. Your life is a living testament to God's power and faithfulness. What they don't comprehend is that their strength has always been borrowed, and their influence is as flimsy as a house of cards swaying in the wind. Every step they take against you is a step closer to their own defeat. The harder they push, the faster they crumble because the base they are standing on is hollow. They may collect armies. They may shout from the roofs. However, without God's favor, they are like dust scattered by a powerful storm. Meanwhile, you stand steadfast not because of your own strength, but because you are founded on the eternal reality of God's promise. You are untouchable not by your own choice, but because the Almighty's hand is on you. Every trial and attack pushes you closer to the victory already decreed by heaven. When they turn against you, they aren't simply fighting one individual. They are at conflict with the divine plan. That is one struggle they will never win. Their defeat is certain, for God Himself has guaranteed your victory. And with every step, you bear the weight of His glory, unshaken, indestructible, and unstoppable. Your success will be evident, and everyone who witnesses it will see that it is God's hand raising you up for His glory.